Does your inner chatter become your constructive or destructive force? If you close your eyes and observe your inner chatter, you can notice how many negative thoughts might arise. Various thoughts that appear per se do not cause trouble, but our lack of awareness. Without being aware of the impermanent nature of thoughts, we tend to cling to them. As a result, we react from lower levels of consciousness. Others or ourselves can get hurt. The deeper problem is the repetition of our negative thoughts. If we regularly think in this way, we create mental habits. Also, the thoughts that are accompanied by strong emotions can have a great impact on our brain. In this way, our thinking patterns and memories get hardwired. The neural pathways become stronger due to neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt throughout our lives. For example, when we learn a new skill, such as driving a car, our brain adapts and forms new neural connections to attune to that activity. Now, since we know this about our brain's amazing capabilities, we can ask ourselves, how can we shift to better thinking? How can we break free from the habit of our toxic chatter? What tools or practices do we need to become more aware of our inner chatter creating havoc? In the early 2000s, researchers conducted functional image resonance imaging, or fMRI, scans of the brain activities which showed us how people interact with the world by using two different brain networks. The one is called Default Mode Network, DMN. This network is activated when we are daydreaming, ruminating, or thinking about the past or the future. It is connected with our mind wandering and focus on the narrative about others and the self. Mostly, it is active during the self-referential thought processes and the period of rest. For example, here's one inner chatter about the future job interview. All other candidates are better than me. I feel like I am not going to tomorrow's next round of the interview. And as the mind continues to wander, one can experience a lot of negative self-talk and accompanying negative emotions that affect one's well-being and life for the worse. Another brain network is called the Task Positive Network, TPN. When this network is active, the default network becomes passive, and vice versa. When one is in the present moment and shifts to goal-oriented tasks, the Task Positive Network gets activated. The Default Mode Network gets deactivated when one focuses on a task, tries to solve a problem, or makes a decision. So, if you focus on your breath, sensation, or some other object of your awareness, your Task Positive Network becomes active. In 2007, the study of Norman Farb and fellow researchers at the University of Toronto showed us how mindfulness training affected brain connectivity and the shift from narrative to experiential mode of self-reference. They examined the two groups of participants, the beginners, pre-training waitlist, who didn't receive any mindfulness training, and those who went through the course consisting of an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program created by John Kabat-Zinn. Daily, they were doing 45 minutes of focusing on breath or other sensations, hatha yoga postures, and body scans. Participants were trained on two self-focus types: a narrative focus that includes reflecting on personal traits and story and what those traits mean, and an experiential focus that engages one's present moment awareness while paying attention to sensations and thoughts without judgment. The fMRI brain scans showed the activated regions and centers while the participants were doing self-focused tasks. They were seeing positive and negative personality traits expressed with adjectives on a screen and applying narrative or experiential focus to those words. In the case of narrative focus, they thought about how the words related to them and what they meant. And in the case of experiential focus, they were aware of how the words triggered them by noticing their current feelings and sensations. Mindfulness-trained participants found both types of self-focus easier than was the case with the beginners. Several brain areas of the default mode network were activated while the participants were engaged in the narrative-focused task, their personal stories. Beginners, when engaged in the experiential-focused task, showed a reduced activity in the mentioned default network and a higher activity in the regions of the task-positive network, which are involved in executive control and attention. Compared to beginners, mindfulness-trained participants experienced a greater reduction of activity in those areas associated with self-reflection. Also, increased activity was found in the sensory awareness and control areas. So, mindfulness helps one stay focused on the present without following the mind's stories. Mindfulness practice helps one easily understand and prioritize what internal and external information one pays attention to at any given moment. Mindfulness meditation increases the activity and connectivity in the salience network, particularly the regions deep within the brain, the insula, and the anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, which help one integrate sensory, cognitive, and emotional information. The insula plays roles in awareness of one's internal bodily states, for example, hunger and others, processing emotions, and experiencing pain, smell, taste, and emotions, such as empathy and guilt. The anterior cingulate cortex, ACC, has a variety of functions. Some of them include emotional regulations, managing attention, decision-making, resolving conflicts, and connecting emotional states with physical responses. The enhanced activation and connectivity in these two regions help one be more aware of one's body and emotions, manage emotions better, improve focus and attention, and cope with stress and anxiety more effectively. It helps one's brain switch from the default mode network to the task-positive network. For example, being aware of the negative cycles of thoughts and shifting to one's breath, feeling how the emotions change, letting go, and choosing more affirming or neutral statements, talking more positively to oneself. The gifts of the mindfulness meditation practice are in the positive effects on one's brain. It alters the brain. As a result, one can recognize and switch between different modes of self-focus and awareness. Now, let's examine how our chatter arises and expands. If we pay attention to our self-talk, we can notice that it usually starts with a single thought. We can try to stop it or ask ourselves questions such as, what is the best technique to reduce or eliminate our inner chatter? But these ideas are also made of thoughts and can create more thoughts. By following them and thinking about the best technique, we can create more conflicting thoughts that do not serve us in the long run. However, our awareness can illuminate to us a much broader view beyond the habitual world of thoughts. At first, it can be challenging to pay attention to how our thoughts arise and change. They can be accompanied by various feelings and sensations. We may dwell on the past memories or worry about the future. However, if we shift our attention to our breath rising, stopping, and falling, we create a small gap for the transformation. With each shift of awareness, we create more and more space. If we stay curious and allow thoughts to arise and vanish without judgment, we become more flexible in how we relate to the world around us. Now, here's the exercise that can be helpful to quiet your mind. Sit down and close your eyes. Relax your body muscles and focus on your breath for a few moments. Now, focus on your heart. You can place one or both hands on this area for a while. Now, focus on your throat area and allow yourself to produce sounds with no meaning for you. There is no interpretation, but only the flow of sounds. You can repeat the sounds many times if that suits you. Allow your consciousness to flow from your heart to your throat area Allow the sounds to flow and vanish in their own way. Allow yourself to settle into the silence. Notice how your mind becomes quiet. Notice how your body becomes calm. Feel the emptiness. This practice can help you quiet your mind by focusing on the sounds or words that are nonsensical. They may seem to be uttered in a new language. In this way, your mind can interpret the words and create further stories, because they do not relate to you in any sense. There is no narrative, but openness to the present moment as it is.